시판에 선생님들 우리가 시험을 봐야 되잖아요. 기말고사. 두 문항이고요. 예, 80대 시험. 그리고 시험 시간은 이제 발표될 거예요. 시험 시간에 보는데, 예, 이거 미리 제가 게시하겠어요. 두 문항, 지문항으로 해가지고 쓴 건데 미리 제가 알려드릴게요. 홈페이지 볼까요? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, I expect you will be faithful about my cyber lecture. So, video lecture regularly is compiled in the cyber space provided by the university. So, it is your responsibility to attend the class and they email me to confirm your attendance. So I regularly receive your email. Thank you for your response. And as you see in Blackboard, I now announce the scheduled final exam of this term. And the questions will be open to your availability before you enter the exam room. So warnings from the exam time, and time and place will be announced by the college officially. You will confirm that, and also warning before that announcement, I expect you will be given the questions, exam papers, which includes some paragraphs, and also you'll find some short questions. So you will give an answer to the question after reading carefully and structure your assault in any coherent fashion, as you will exercise your hours or day of study to prepare for the exam and make arguments pertinent to the question, and also your views or opinions can be written, expressed, and on proposition, and some objective view would also be explored to support your proposition or argument. The kind of response will be performed for 1 hour and 20 minutes. It would not be short. I suppose it will be sufficient to complete your exam questions. So I do not intend any time restraint or time constraint or burden kind of hurry to read through the paragraphs in any, and also will be scheduled to write your answer down on the answer sheet. That it will be occasional in cases. However, I do not prefer that kind of situation. So I prepare 8 minutes exam. So you will have much time to deliberate and structure your answers, and also write up briefly in response with the questions I posed. Okay, and in this class, I will some of paragraphs which what the kind of a basic description about the common law system, basic theory to feature the essence element in the common law theory, and discuss some implications about that. I neglect about preparation. I should have to prepare printouts to cover this class discussion, perhaps available in next week. So I'll get it ready for your review, and I'll make it available in next class, Monday. In this class, you will carefully listen my delivery of lecture and discussion, and could be complemented by follow-up compliments about the printouts and excerpts. So, what is topic? My class is generally based on American law and legal English, also by Fukuda Moritoshi, and Professor Park Dong-young provides a fairly a modest translation, which is great to leading us to kind of a core of a message or implications, and very well structured to actually illuminate the basics of common law. So I find it very helpful to get through the basics of common law. We previously dealt some of earlier parts towards product liability. Let us consider some of part concerning law of contract. In this consideration, you will see 16 parts of paragraphs, very projected to cover what scope of a contract aspect in American legal system. Let us see, for example, contracts in consideration. So on page 225, consideration is something of value requested by an offeror in exchange for a promise to the offeror. It is an inducement to get a person to perform his part of bargain or contract, such as by paying him money. A valid contract requires consideration by both parties. Consideration must be distinguished from a gift, where consideration is provided by only one party. Each party must promise to do something he or she is not obligated to do, or promise to refrain from exercising a legal right. So consideration is a distinct element very important to characterize the common law contract system. And it is a long heritage and deeply embedded in the theory of contract law. Nowadays, this influence generally seems to be diminished, large part, and modern contract law theory would operate to modify its a consequence. In some cases, it just event past history to be waived in many contexts. However, we still see this effect, and many series to be related with basic serial contract law. So, for example, you will know a pre-existing duty law, which will change some a prospect about a picture often anticipated by a party about consideration of others. And in other cases, we'll see some of modern approach about UCC waters and statute of fraud or consideration, a basic chapter. Perhaps you will learn to distinguish the common law contract theory from that of civil law tradition. And the concept was uniformly approached in UCC, for example, but of course it is a commercial code, national commercial code, to be applied to commercial transactions. So it is not civil law, but might be changed. And also, consideration would, in some cases, raise the kind of concern. How about gift? The law of gift is universal, as we explored the previous class. And the ways of approach from civil law traditions would not bar any gift contract. So what the meeting of mutual mind is sufficient. So no consideration is required. So gift could be created based on the concept agreement by both parties in opposing interests. Often, however, consideration unique in common law or system. Theoretically, any assumption could impede any effect of gift in the legal consequence. So how do you assess that question? So the theory, the reliance of party about the promise made by the opposing party could create a situation that the gift contract could be entered without the due consideration. The kind of common law theory would provide a fair replacement in a justice between parties in creating a gift contract. The gift contract could be also made present in the common law system by the way of the legal operation function. So consideration basically requires some bargain for exchange between the parties. So I sacrifice this in exchange for others. It would fulfill the kind of faith or sincerity required of the parties who now intend to enter the contractual relationship. So that would forbid any unbargained or arbitrary entrance into contract relationship. So prudence and some serious deliberation on the contractual effect, or the kind of sincerity and faith about assumption of contract and or a basic justice between the parties would represent the kind of requirement expected of a constellation. An uncle told his nephew that he would refrain from drinking, smoking, and gambling until he became 21. He would pay him $8,000. The nephew fulfilled his part of the agreement, having refrained for 6 years, and wrote to his uncle informing him of this fact. When the uncle replied that he had deposited the money in the bank for him, the nephew agreed to his arrangement. 12 years later, the uncle died without having paid any money to his nephew. The nephew presented a claim to the executor of his uncle's estate, who refused to pay. The nephew sued for the $8,000 plus interest, contending that he had fully performed a unilateral contract with his uncle. The executor contended there was no enforceable contract because there was no consideration for uncle's promise. The court found that the contract was enforceable, but forbearance, legal detriment, loss, or responsibility given or undertaken by the promise is sufficient consideration for promise. In this case, the nephew gave up his legal right to smoke, drink, and gamble. This constituted a legal detriment, which was bargained for, and the nephew was entitled to the money promised by his uncle. So, consider various contexts of contractual relationship, for example, sales contract, transport technology agreement, and a labor contract. A scope of paradigmatic contract often bears the kind of relationships and legal detriment. So I pay my money for your car, and consider, for example, labor contract, or provide my labor force. The plant is necessary to fulfill your businesses or operations of your factory or work. But that is effective legal detriment, bargain for any compensation. So the contract, typical contract to be identified with the due contract. In this case, you will see some peculiar situation. The nephew would not pay his money or spend any time to support the uncle's business, or he just forbears from smoking, drinking, gambling, the kind of undesirable activities, often what they hated by family members or neighbors. So very ethical to be exchanged for some interest. So you will well be justified that the nephew has done his side. That should be respected. The kind of restraint is due to serve his personal body. So you will have some suspect if it could constitute any consideration, or if the contract was enforceable actually, as sustained contract was enforceable and consideration can be found. Because he has sacrificed his liberty interest. So we generally, a person who entertain the kind of heavenly bestowed liberty, we can smoke, drink, and or gamble. That could be forbidden. 20 years in reliance of uncle's promise to pay $8,000. So we find legally identifiable constellation according to the theory of constellation or contract. One other case, perhaps analogous to this situation, is the kind of parental promise to his his son wants. If you go to law school and obtains A score or A grade in first year of schools or A's, then 4 or 5 subjects, then I'll pay $5,000. Is it an enforceable contract? How do you consider? There is also one very famous illustration, often raised in your first year contract class about the issue of consideration. And also exercise some hypotheticals involving pre-existing duty. The pre-existing duty could provide some effective factor to magnify the traditional rules of constellation. So exercise your legal mind and insight to investigate the kind of situation, and please revisit the contract outline. Gilbert was famous through the basics of contract and could complement it. And we also make some exciting aspect about the common law system. Let us take trial by jury in civil cases. The Constitution of the United States imposed a requirement about the jury trial, and that will first be concerned with criminal proceedings, and you also have some amendments pertaining to the jury trial involving civil litigation. Then page A7 will be covered by this topic. The Seventh Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the right to jury trial in federal civil cases in federal courts when the amount in controversy exceeds $20. Most states have similar guarantees in their own constitutions, although many states put a higher minimum dollar amount restriction on the guarantee. For example, Iowa requires the dollar amount of damages to be at least $10,000 before there is a right to jury trial in civil cases. In the following case, the right to civil trial by jury, even when no funds exist to pay jurors, is a form. On June 16, 1986, the director of the Administrative Office of the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California suspended all civil jury trial for a period of 3.5 months for budgetary reasons due to lack of funds with which to pay the jurors. The court stated that the suspension was found to be a violation of Seventh Amendment because it denied an individual the ability to have a jury trial for an extended period of time and put a price tag on constitutional rights which cannot be affected by a budget shortage. A civil trial can be held with or without a jury. If there is no jury, the judge determines the truth of the facts alleged in the case. The right to trial by a jury does not have to be exercised. And many cases are tried without a jury. In most states, and in federal courts, one of the parties must request a jury, or the right is presumed to be waived. So the jury trial in civil cases is a matter of a constitution in one aspect, and could be amenable to the situation of contingencies. In some cases, the right to jury trial would not be exercised, and the amount, amount is also pertinent to the system of jury trial in civil cases. The Constitution requires $20 as a minimum. And also, you will take a look into the state constitutions, and many states put a higher minimum dollar restriction on the guarantee. That would be compatible, of course, with the federal constitution, since the amount is high. And you will have one example from the state of Iowa. It requires $1,000 in the list on the state constitution, and you also have some very interesting example from the state of California, and it is from the federal court, resided in Central District of California. It suspended all civil jury trial for a period 3.5 months for budgetary reasons due to lack of funds with which to pay the jurors. That is what actually contravening the language of Constitution, very expressive. So on its face, it contradicts the provision of Constitution, the 7th Amendment. Budget shortage will not be any effective reason to avoid the constitutional requirement. It's basic. And of course, you will see many arguments about fiscal deficiency or shortage to satisfy any public programs or others. So positive rights would be asserted in the context of a modern administrative state. We now expect many social benefits from the state, and it is just what is structured that constitute to explain the basic of this society in new millennium. Nonetheless, is still the kind of second generation of human rights, which depends on the capability of a government in terms of its fiscal plan and others. So that could well be fulfilled in relation with that aspect. Nonetheless, this case would not go same with kind of a positive liberty. The jury trial basically concern of a negative liberty. The concept of negative liberty is very classic and foundational and very fundamentals as a basic to sustain the civil administration. So, well, actually, that could not be dispensable from the reason of a fiscal or budgetary consideration. How do you suppose? That is very general and often come easy in any structural comprehension of the constitution or kind of political theory. And also we see some aspect about criminal law. The topic is regulation of gun, and page 109. The right to bear arms is safeguarded in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So you now have the language of Second Amendment, very traditional, and what the actually phrase of carnage over decades of misfortune or catastrophes, often a very tragic from school gun shooting or the kind of contingencies in deep depression, serious serial killings, what I say, very actually depraving against our safety and basic humanity. The right of citizens to bear arms was not an unlimited right, recognized common law. When the Constitution was adopted, the right was guaranteed so that the people could maintain the militia as a protection against the violence. So you will have a due imagery about classic periods, kind of militia, and open barbarian to safeguard their interests. Or actually, the kind of status is very chaotic. So somebody will kill me in any expectation. Very fearful. So we will be adequate to bear arms for a self-defense, and that concept has also been sustained in the decades or the century of the westward expansion in the United States. Still could not be eradicated in any fundament. We have the Second Amendment in reality and due effect in constitutionalism of the United States. And also the federal response will not be clear-cut or straightforward to touch on the core evils of inaction or any system to affect kind of a tragedy. In New Jersey, a group of sportsmen issued to have a state gun control law declared unconstitutional. The statute required that all persons who wanted to buy a firearm in New Jersey present a firearms purchase permit. To obtain the permit, the person had to be investigated and fingerprinted. Permits would not be issued to habitual or drunkard, narcotic addicts, or the mentally ill. The sportsmen claimed the law violated their absolute right under the Second Amendment to bear arms. The court decided, however, the gun control laws are poor and reasonable exercise of state's police power, as long as the maintenance of state militia is not impaired. And the state has a right to protect its citizens from the dangers of illegal firearms. So, militia is often not usual in this last period of time. Nonetheless, we still witness some of occasions in 20th century of the United States. So consider the situation to relate the constitutional requirement with there is great controversy about gun control laws. The issue is whether the citizen has an absolute right as an individual to keep and bear arms, or whether this right must be reasonably related to the preservation of public peace. Many states have determined the gun control laws the maintenance of a state militia or national guard are valid, and they do not violate the Second Amendment. And you will also have some ideas about the response of respective states. In some cases, the state has gun control act, gun carriage act, the kind of names similar, or in some cases some contradiction among others, since the state policy varies with respect to the situation or circumstances of each state. In some cases, the gun control would be tightened and enhanced to react against the potential crimes of gun. In other cases, we'll see some generous nature of response from state. In this case, the state requires to present a firearm purchase permit. So the permit system is one very plausible way to respond with the risk from gun sales or others. To obtain the permit, the person has to be investigated and fingerprinted. So fingerprint, or in some cases, the kind of personal interaction in police process. Also, some popular issue to be contended in the United States. In one case, fingerprint would be permissible in due conditions set forth by the Supreme Court, involving a scope of situations. And in other case, the personal surrender about his confidential part or others would be subject to strict scrutiny by the Supreme Court. Permits would not be issued to habitual drunkards, non-alcoholic addicts, or the mentally ill. The scope of persons would be dangerous, generally, who has potential to violate or some critical use of a gun to what actually accomplishes a criminal purpose or others. Kind of evil have been what actually expected to react against by the legislature of a state. The sportsman claim the law violated the absolute right on the Second Amendment called to bear arms. In any case, the court now shows a general tendency against gun possession. So the state could well impose some strict requirement to control the gun carriage or gun possession. As you expect, the situation of the United States was fairly aggravated context. And the court also exercised kind of a new innovation of a legal theory involving tort damages or others. So actually the juniors or adolescents in high school years of age would often be critical about a gun crime. So, for example, negligent entrustment theory, as I have illustrated in the last class, also comes adequate to chart the kind of a development in the court litigation or others. So, court and administrative agency, notwithstanding federal and state, would now often be very sensitive to create any adequate response against gun policy or others. So interesting. And also, you will know the kind of need of collaboration. So federal, state, and local could collaborate. That would often be seen ineffective if they stand independent, and the kind of response could become piecemeal and fragmented that yield any inefficient outcome or wait a minute. Okay, call from Professor Kohenian. I need to answer shortly after this class. Oh, time is up. Now I finished my class, and any question? So please get this information for your advantage. And I now plan on the final exam of this term. And in the exam paper will present you 2 questions that I announced at the beginning of this class. And the exam hours will be 8 minutes. And the exam question will be open to your review 1 week before the exam day. And the exam will be conducted at the time in the places as announced by the college. So please take care to conform the exam schedule. They'll be available for your prep. Okay, and preparation. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you in the classes of this Thursday. Of course, Tom's class will be recorded. The respect you audit in this week, and we'll see you in interface on Monday class. 오경준, 예. 김상현, 예. 박상민, 네. 김현찬, 예. 김성현, 최재희, 네. 김서우, 네. 모남수, 이건철, 예. 송난승, 네, 이경희, 정유철, 예. 아무 사람 있나요? 아, 정지현. 네. 네. Hello, you, Professor, you called me. Oh, I'm available. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead to your proposal. 6 o'clock? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, see you. Yeah, welcome.
음.